I want to compare Nyati House, Riveria, and the Subarus nowadays. But I want to make is it called a disclaimer? In fact, two. But both of the two examples state that a kilo, 1 kilogram that you are carrying is heavier than a ton that somebody else is carrying. I'll repeat that one again. A kilogram that you are carrying is more heavier than a ton that somebody else is carrying. So if you see me using my personal experience, someone may say you're biased because of your personal experience. I'll understand. Another thing I want also to say is that the second thing, before I start my story, is that I'm very shocked with people like Itumbi. I remember during the last regime, Itumbi went through very hard times. He went through very hard times. I remember one time, was it Bomas of Kenya? I remember one time in Bomas of Kenya, where Ituri was carried unceremoniously. He found himself next to President Uhuru and he was carried out unceremoniously. I also remember Itumbi one time when he had a fractured leg and a fractured arm. And the people used to make jokes about him because they used what we call a mirror picture. A mirror picture is a picture where, for one picture, depending on which side of the negative you are processing, you find that we all put on our watches on a certain hand, isn't it? But if the mirror picture is used, people may be shocked that we are used to seeing you putting on a watch on this hand. Why is it that in this picture you have taken on the other side? It makes left to be right and right to be left. So there was even a time when Itubi's picture was changed that way, and people even started mocking him. That he's so confused that he doesn't know which leg he has a plaster. And I remember even talking about it and saying there is no way a plaster can be changed from one leg to the other. And I even showed them that don't you see this is just a mirror image of the same picture. I remember even somebody, in Kenya, you can disagree with somebody. It is only in Kenya when you disagree with somebody and you find that person being abusive and using unprintables. I would have expected a person of the nature of Itumbi to be the forefront, having passed through the same. But today, the only thing that Itumbi sees are the affordable houses. It has come to an extent that so long as it is not happening to me, then to hell. But if it happens to me, I have to wail at the highest voice or volume for people to hear. Mr. Itumbi, what you are doing, or what I think you are doing, God has forgiven your tormentors. God has forgiven your tormentors. If your tormentors were to go to hell because of tormenting you, you have forgiven them. What you are doing is no different. It's no different from somebody breaking your leg and you meet, you shake hands and say, I have forgiven you. Because you are not seeing anything wrong. What you are seeing, and you are the government's chief blogger, who is supposed to be defending all the bloggers. But since it is not happening to me, that is what I was taught at Kainuk. That is what I was taught at Kainuk, at the border of Turkana and West Pokot. As we were walking through the South Turkana National Park and Nasalot Game Reserve, we were told that the lions or these wild animals, they go for the weakest person among you. So long as you are now not the target, then the problem has ceased to happen. Now, the purpose of this was to compare and contrast the three. That is Nyati House, that is Yala, and now the Subarus. Different people would have different opinions. For example, in the same class, using the old system, the old system, this is 844 and 763. You could get somebody in class, let's say Form 3, who is leading in geography, and you'd get another one who is leading in biology. If you talk to the person who is leading in biology, he'll tell you that biology is the easiest work. The same applies to the one who is leading in Swahili. So different people view differently. I know my personal friend, Wafula Buke, was in the press recently saying that we have gone back to Nyayo house time. I may not agree with him very much, but let me give my views. Let me give my views on the three. All the three are evils. And if someone was to hold a gun on my head and tell me to choose of the three evils, or I'll be shot, then I would say this, that the current Subaru is the worst, even though I have been a victim of it. Being held, not for 24 hours, but for 42 hours. And for the 42 hours, just 2 cups of tea and 4 slices of bread. So Subaru, I have a personal view. When it comes to Nyayo House, I have a personal whatever, but I used to tell those people, it also contributed to my leaving the job, because I remember one time I faced Clement Masiza and told him that in future, you may have to account for whatever you did in Nyayo House. So I was a part of the system, but I used to speak from within. But comparing Nyayo House to Riveria, and also to comparing Nyayo House to Riveria and comparing to Subaru, I would say Nyayo House is the best. I want to correct myself. I want to say Nyayo House is the best. And Subaru is the worst. Where do I start? Let me start with Nyayo House. Nyayo House was a centralized torture chamber. Nyayo House was a centralized torture chamber. We could even predict the person who was going to be there. Look at the list of people who have been there. I'm not trying to say they are bad or anything. These are the people who were bold enough to say that the system was rotten. These are the people who come to you to just comes openly and say the system is rotten, and the way we are going to do this or this. That is point number one. Point number one I'm trying to say is that it was predictable, or there was a pattern for Nyayo House. But let us come to Subaru. What is the pattern for Subaru? Who can you say that is going to be a victim of Subaru tomorrow or anything? Nyayo House was centralized. It was centralized. I have spoken before. and I will speak again in future. For example, the case of Bishop Muge. There was a meeting of a civilian who used to work for Nyati House. He was a civilian and a technician. But because of Ouko and Muge, the same year, the civilian was made a police officer of the rank of Senior Assistant Commissioner of Police. Just like those Armenians who are made deputy commissioners, one rank ahead of him, for the good job that he had done. So he was the centralized person in Nairobi who coordinated and said, you, and whatever. So what I'm trying to say is that Nyayo House, there was a lot of coordination. And when they were coordinated, all of them were being taken to Nyayo House, Nairobi. North, south, east, west, they are all brought to one centralized place. That is the centralization of it. If you compare people, if you sit with people, you can even come up with a list of a person of people who went to Nyayo House. But Subaru, they don't have a centralized thing. They don't have a centralized thing. It is so happening. And that is why I even want Amin out of the job earlier than Lagat. It is happening so much that during my time, and even before I joined the police, and even after I left the police, it was unheard of for a county police officer to do something when his regional police officer or regional police commander is not aware. It was unheard of. And if we go to the truth, but just the fact that your juniors can hide you and play around with you makes it you should go. You should place your people in such a place that they fear hiding anything from you. But nowadays, I can tell you, even, hey, let me not say it for now, but I'm aware of a situation where a chief inspector, she's a lady, things were not working well, and she would go to a constable and say, na hii maneno ya mzee imefika, anapembeleza. You see, in the police force, a recruit who has just come from Kiganjo can talk to an inspector while pocketing. But a chief inspector going to tell us constable, at na hii maneno nasumshughulikie. And it is not, she's not talking to a constable from another formation. No, she's talking of somebody who is under her instructions. Hii maneno ya huyu imekuwa. So why, the reason why I'm against Subarus is that people are doing something. Everybody's answerable to everybody, isn't it? They all end up answerable to the IGP, Inspector General of Police. So imagine the person who is under you, immediately under you. Just that is how Subaru is nowadays. I want to tell you, and I dare to say this, although I have no direct information. Take the example of those Subaru people who went to Mawego to collect Albert. If you are to get them, okay, we have names, 2 sergeants and 3 constables. Can you tell me that there is something that is called briefing and debriefing? Briefing is when you are told you are going to Nyanza and you are going to do this and this. And then debriefing is the person you have sent, he'll now tell you, when we went, this is what we whatever. Can you swear that those people, when they came back, they were giving debriefing? They said everything. No, they did. Nowadays, it has reached a stage where within the DCI, constables can do anything under the rightful nose of their bosses. That is how Subarus are. I can tell you without any fear of repercussion or even contradiction, that if you are to talk to the Nyayo House torture chamber people of a certain rank, let's say an inspector, there is nothing operational that the inspector knew that his superintendent didn't know, that his assistant commissioner didn't know. But that is what is happening. Subaru are doing something that we used to do, but we used to do it a bit differently. We could talk to our bosses, tusaidie gari tunakimbia hapa. You go with an official vehicle, you are bribed, and then you come and give the inspector 50 shillings. You know, 50 shillings then was a lot of money. That is what is happening. To make Subaru so worse is that whatever is happening down here, the people whom they are under, the immediate people have no idea. Completely have no idea. That is why I'm saying that Subaru is worse than Nyayo. And then when we come to Riveria, which I put it to be in the middle, the good thing about, and I'm using the word good, we have Kenyans whom you are not supposed to use such wordings while you're talking. The good thing about Riveria are people who could also be predicted like Nyayo. They may not have been as many. Riveria may not be as many as Nyayo House, but you could predict that anybody who was pro-Ruto and was very much vocal, such a person would easily end up in Riveria. But today, the only thing you have to do is you have to go to any DCI office. Just say that I think Nani, when he was talking this one, he meant me. I think he meant me. Hey, those people will get out. Anybody who has been to Operation Boni Forest, when you are told that I think in the forest there we have some 3 or 4 Al-Shabaab, the way they Linda Usalama in Turkana and Boni Forest, the way they rush to when they have heard that some 2 people who resemble Al-Shabaab have been seen. That is how these people run. And I want to dare say here that they come up with this idea of, I've said it and I'll repeat. There is this idea that they have this hatred of social media. I don't think you can talk for a week on social media without stepping on somebody's toes. Or you want to say alfulela ulela, sijui siku za Sultan bin whatever, sijui kulitokea Abunuwasi akajifanya amekufa akalala njaa. That is the only surest way that you'll not cross those people. They only need somebody to just come and say ABCD. And when they say ABCD, these people will look for all your electronics. First of all, I want to tell Amin before he resigns. Can you update your lab? Why should electronics, something like a mobile phone, stay in the lab for 21 days? Why? And I can tell you that over 80% of those electronic things when they come, like this borrowed camera, let me say this, nobody has ever touched it or whatever. But then they open it. And the way of resealing anything that is brand new, anything, in any case, in any machine, any electronic, an electronic thing can stay 3 times more if you don't open it up. But here is somebody who comes, opens all the nuts, looks at it inside, does whatever. Okay, let me talk to my viewer. Have you seen the police coming to check suspected thing in your house? Let's say somebody says, kwa nyumba ya fulani, I think he is hiding a gun. Just look at the way they turn it upside down. When they leave, do they return it the way it was? Because all fairness, especially if they check and find that whatever information they got was unreliable, they are supposed to leave that house the way it was, so that anybody coming 5 minutes after they've left, and then somebody saying, I heard that the cops were here. I said, no. But then the way your house will be turned upside down, and then they leave. And this is what I'm saying. And I dare say that with a lot of pain, especially having felt it personally. Have courtesy. If you go into somebody's house, you have received concrete information that that person is hiding guns or anything on kind of contraband goods. If you find anything connected to the raid that you are doing, then you are justified. Even if you are told that there is a bundle of unga and you find only one packet of unga, you are justified. But when you do that raid and find that, because there is nowhere, if you are to wait for only cases where you are 100% sure something is there, then a lot of things would go. There are those cases where you genuinely think there is a crime that has been committed in this place. Genuinely. But after going through, you find that, yeah, even there are even sometimes when you are told somebody is hiding contraband things, you do your own research and then you make a raid. By bad luck, the person had moved those things half an hour before. You see that one, you can it can be counted that you can even tell that person that we got wrong information. So why can't you even, with a word of mouth, why can't you just even tell the person, we are sorry, we believed that you had ABCD, but we have proven it is wrong. Tafadhali, rearrange your house the way it is. But then you find, and there's a time when police officers, people, graduates were being employed in the police, but I'm told they've gone back to D+. During my time, we were employing people who are illiterate, people who used to get their salary. Instead of signing, they would place there a fingerprint, a thumbprint. Those people are more learned than these people who are now going there. We used to go, there is the people who are employed immediately after me, number 42. They attended 5-month course. Now, I don't think there is any recruit who goes for less than 9. You are more educated. You spend more time in Kiganjo, but you do worse. So, by the way, today we wanted just to compare the three evils. But then you find that when it comes to Yala, it was anybody suspected to be a pro-Ruto. When it goes to Nyayo House, is anybody who was suspected to be pushing for either multipartyism or open democracy. Actually, if you ask me about the environment in Kenya then, this thing that they brought up, and the person who introduced that thing is none other than Kibaki himself. This thing that they introduced was saying that Kenya, Section 2A, Kenya is to be a one-party system. Is that what spoiled? Because in Kenya, before that, there are 3 things I can say. One, Kenyans liked, and in fact, I would even recommend Kenya to have either a one-party state or a no-party state, which is just the same. No-party state and one-party state is the same. Because even after multi-party, can you differentiate one party from another? No, you can't. Those people who are shouting themselves hoarse today at DCP Skiza ground, it needed Gachagua just to tell them one day, and then the following day, they are shouting themselves hoarse, trying to prove DCP. So in Kenya, we all are liberal Democrats. We are liberal Democrats, all of us. So if we have that, but the problem that brought multi-party in Kenya was this. Within KANU, there had to be regimentation of thoughts and actions. So when people said, okay, you do something little, they say, okay, we are chasing you out of Kano. Then they said, okay, in that case, let us now have other parties. But if we had only Kano and Kenyans were given freedom to be open with whatever, nobody would have gone for multi-party. We see it in Tanzania. That is what Kenyans wanted, but you forced them into multi-party. Now the multi-party is not different. So what was happening in Nyayo House was just very simple. I can say political enlightenment. If you try to enlighten people politically, you would go to Nyayo House. Political enlightenment. Wacha wakae kama makondoo, don't try to make them clever. That was what Nyayo House was. Nyayo House torture chamber. It was a brainchild of Nicolae Ceausescu of Romania. Now, when it comes to Riveria and whatever, these are the people, anybody being associated with Ruto, including, I think they were Pakistan or anything. Those people were taken from the airport. So that is how Riveria was. The two are centralized. You, you want to make Kenyans clever, they get rid of you. That was Nyayo House. Riveria, you are associated with Ruto, you are taken to Riveria. But then what is happening here, it has no principle, it has whatever. These are just, for a lack of a better example, it is like Haiti.